Well, hello, good evening to you. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We are live on news about Desa Week and also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. Tonight, a number of civil society organizations have expressed their opposition to what they have termed as a secretive lease deal between the Tamale Refinery and Torrentco Asset Management. We'll bring you more details of this deal and why the CSOs have taken a stance against it and the matters of secrecy and all these concerns raised. Stay with us on Ghana Tonight. Also, a shocking figure of more than 6,000 teachers out of 7,728 who wrote the licensure exam failed, a situation which has led to the National Teaching Council referring to them as not fit for the profession as teachers. Stay with me. We're getting to the details of this explosive details we're having from the said licensure examinations. Also, there's a government waste report which has revealed that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has, for the past 4 years, received over 446 million cedis to fight corruption. That's not the only figure we have in this report. Details over the next 60 minutes. Stay with us. Well, as always, we are very, very interactive. Let's hear from you. The hashtag is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and Twitter. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
The National House of Chiefs has called for a review of the President's appointment of the Chief Justice. According to the traditional leaders, the old convention where the longest-serving Supreme Court judge became the Chief Justice should be reintroduced, since selection of junior over senior could be demoralizing and undermine integrity.
The view is that it should be the most senior judge instead of this power of appointment by the President.
NDC parliamentary candidate for Ase North, James Jachikwe must wait until June 21 to determine if his trial adjournment request will be upheld.
It's not about he not being allowed to contest the elections. He has a right to contest.
Some civil society organizations have opposed a possible 6-year lease of the Tema Oil Refinery to Torrentco Asset Management. They believe the deal is secretive and could lead to tension and public anxiety.
The deal is bad. We don't know who the real directors are, and our checks are showing that they are fronts for other people. It's unfortunate, and we hope that is clarified. Who are the people behind, the present lease?
The National Teaching Council claims over 6,000 teachers who failed the licensure exams are not cut out for the profession. However, Ghana's National Association of Teachers is calling for a national dialogue on the mass failure rather than accusing teachers.
We want to get it right. And because we want to get it right, we need to look at all the things that happened within the process.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has proposed the acquisition of an African Caribbean airline that will be used to bridge the distance between countries for intra-Africa trade. Speaking at the just-ended Afrexim Bank Annual Summit, Dr. Addison said bridging the gap between both regions will contribute to promoting trade with the Caribbean and diaspora in goods and services, investment, and economic opportunities.
So we need to encourage the investments in air and maritime transportation.
Or you can find more on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Coming up next on Ghana Tonight, the National Teaching Council claims that over 6,000 teachers will fail their licensure exams. They are not fit for the profession. Stay with us. The Ghana National Association of Teachers, they have some concerns about that position by the GTCs. This is Ghana Tonight, but here's what we do know so far. Our Chief Labour Correspondent, Daniel Opoku, sat with the National Teaching Council Executive Direct Secretary to help us understand what this really means. Dr. Christian Adaipoku has a few things to say. Take a look.
7,728 teachers sat for the licensure exams. 1,277 passed, while 6,481, representing 83%, failed. Some of the teachers, according to the NTC, had written the exams more than 5 times. Those who failed have up to November to resit or forfeit it.
Sometimes it's funny. You see candidates who could not write the exam who go and write, please help me, a teacher will write in the script, help me, my telephone number is this, I'll compensate you. So we will need to investigate. Such candidates are invited and we investigate them, so we withhold their results. Recently, the recent one they wrote, somebody wrote a prophet name instead of writing an essay. He just wrote a prophet's name there, thinking that a miracle will occur for him to pass. By November, they have the chance to sit for the last time for this particular kind of exam. If they are not successful, then they have to transition to the new one that is coming. What makes this one challenging to those people is that some of them might have passed 1 paper or 2 papers out of the 3. Yeah. But the moment you are transitioning to the new system, the new dispensation, it means you have to forgo those 2 that you passed or the 1 that you passed and start afresh. For legal redress, I don't have any power to stop anybody from going anywhere. But the process is that if you are dissatisfied with the results and you want a remark, you pay your remark fee, and then we give you the chance, and then we appoint neutral examiners to come and then remark for you. We have few occasions that people have doubted or disputed results and have come for remarking, but almost all of them, they were not successful.
Dr. Christian Adaipoku there, giving details of this and getting to know that some of these teachers, teacher trainees who sat for this licensure exams, actually wrote their telephone numbers in the answer sheet. You know, they should call them. You know what that means. If a student writes his or her telephone number in the exam sheet for you as an invigilator or a lecturer, for that matter, and then the names of certain pastors and prophets in the exams sheet paper. That's what we understand now. Here's what we do know so far, at least per the reports that we have, the full complement of it. Take a look. The total candidates who sat for this, 7,728. The teachers who failed these licensure exams, 6,451. Those who passed, 1,277. Success rate of 16.5%. A failure rate of 84%, thereabout. That's 83.5%. And this is where it raises fundamental concerns about the quality of the teaching that these teachers are getting in the various colleges of education. Now, take a look at this as well. Per the report, these were the weaknesses of the candidates. Inability of the candidates to understand comprehension passages. Poor expressions. Candidates could not use the appropriate features of an essay. These are some of the weaknesses they found. Now, the last one is one that will shock you. Look at this. The issues about spelling mistakes, wrong spelling. According to the National Teaching Council, these are some of the things they saw in the exams. Headache, the spelling of headache, you see there. Middle, so spelling M-I-D-D-L-E, they do M-I-D-I-L-L. This was not just one candidate, a number of them. Punctual, that's how they spelled it, punctual. And then absenteeism. A number of the candidates spelled absenteeism, as you see there, under the wrong spelling category. Motivation, they spelled it multivation. And then pocket money. It's a very, very typical social media spelling of pocket money. You see there, right? These are the teachers who start, and these are the mistakes that they made. Let's go on to Zoom now. And Dr. Peter Patianti, Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, IFS. Also joining us is Prince Obeng Himan. He is the President of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CITAG. They have some questions to answer as well about the quality of the teaching that they are giving these people. Dr. Patianti, thank you so much for joining us on Ghana Tonight. So, if I look at the records, according to Dr. Christian Adaipoku, this is not new. It's been happening over time, and some of these teachers who sat for the exam have failed the exams 7, 8, 9, 10 times, correct?
Yes, and I would want us to put this discussion in perspective. One, these are candidates who have sat for the exams for number of times, as you indicated, and have not been able to get passes in all their subjects. So it could be that they write 3 papers. They write what we call numeracy, literacy, and then essential professional skills. So it could be that somebody passed 2 and then couldn't pass the last paper. So these are the group of people that wrote the exam. So you can say that this is it was an opportunity given them to redeem themselves after several attempts of trying to enter the teaching profession. And I need also to make this point clear that the law that guides the teaching profession now is that when you finish the various teacher training institutions, you are supposed to write your licential exams.
Right.
When you write the licential exams, you are given a provisional license. So till you are given a provisional license, you cannot call yourself a teacher. You are a pre-service teacher or a teacher trainee. Then you are given a provisional license to practice for 1 year, which we call the induction period. So within this period, you are supposed to satisfy certain conditions, build your portfolio and all those things. After that 1 year period, you are inducted into the teaching profession and given a permanent license. So these ones are not people who are already teaching our case. And that is an important point we need to make so that people don't think that teachers that are teaching our case have this kind of, are going or have this kind of challenges. They are not teachers who are in the classroom. They want to enter the teaching profession, but the systems and the mechanisms that we are putting in place is helping us sieve some of these people and preventing them from entering the classroom to impart knowledge. Because I said earlier on that we do not want, and I believe that the teaching profession should attract the highest form of quality in terms of student performance. So if you cannot do some of these basic tests, then it becomes difficult for you to enter the profession. And we are using, I think we're using this to sieve the number of people who want to be professional teachers.
Dr. Patianti, I mean, so these are what you would call remedial students, correct? Like they are going for another shot of the exam. And they've sat for this same exam 7, 8, 9, 10 times and they are still failing. I mean, what's happening?
If you look at the data since we started the Ghana Teacher Licensure Exam, the pass rate is around 60-65%. So you would note that people have been able to go through. But these people who sat for the recent one were all remedial students. Let me put it that way. People have tried to sit for the exam, but they couldn't pass. They might have their peculiar challenges. We will have that conversation going forward. But the point is that these are people who have tried to sit and pass so that they can get into the profession, but they have not been able to pass. And the reasons could be so many. It could be that they are not prepared. It could be that they do not take the exam seriously. And that is a serious fact because, you know, either before this time, what we normally know is that you go to the teacher training institutions, you pass, you graduate, you are posted to your school. That is what we know, okay? But then when the change started coming, people felt that, oh, we can still go through this. It's nothing. You are just going to write numeracy. You are just going to write literacy. What is this? We can sit and pass. And that is what I think is showing up now, that people are not taking the exam seriously. They don't prepare well before they go and sit for this. Okay. I can tell you that some of the tertiary institutions have started mounting courses that teach specifically some of these things to enable prepare the student teachers to go and sit for the exams. And I think that is the sure way to go.
Okay, so Dr. Anti, stay with me because the colleges of education have also come under scrutiny here as to the quality of the the teaching that they are offering these students who are going to sit for this exam 7, 8, 9 times and they are still failing. Prince Obenheman is the president of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana. Thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight. So you've seen the outcome of these licensing exams. You, Colleges of Education Teachers, what have you got to say about this?
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity. In the first place, let me say that the conversation has to be appropriately contextualized in that we look at the background of the people who write the licensure exams. It is not only students from the colleges of education. We have students from colleges of education, students from other teacher training institutions like the traditional universities who are equally offering the programs that are being offered in the colleges of education. We have people from private institutions like Jackson and other institutions that are also there. So when it comes out this way and impression is created, to mean like things are not being done right at the college level, that's why our students are failing. It becomes, worrying. So for me, if the conversation can be such that we have this number of students who start for the exam, those who failed, we have this number that are coming from the colleges, then we'll be able to, do it. That notwithstanding, I must say that in principle, we from CISAC, we from the colleges of education, we are for it. The licensure is one way that we can better a lot of teachers, we can dignify the teaching profession, we can ensure that what we are doing in Ghana conforms or meets the standards that are being done elsewhere globally. So I would say that you look at what they do when they finish, numeracy, literacy, and what have you. The students who are from the college, they go through training, courses they do, the programs and what have you, training we give them. By the time they go, they are adequately prepared for it. So if you check the statistics very well, you will see that our students who come from the, from the college, largely perform very well. Exam assistants and human as we are. You and I, as we are even seated, you've been using the microphone for years.
Okay.
If it happens that we have to be examined, or you have to examine, certainly based on the context, based on certain dynamics, some people will have to, fail. The normal care will have to be there, and what have you. So,
okay.
If people are not doing well, people from other institutions are not doing well, then we need to set up. We need to set up and see what we can do to ensure that they're able to pass and then become teachers. But at the end of the day, you look at the things they do in the mathematics, not even mathematics, which require that you have math background, the literacy, the numeracy, and what have you. If you are a teacher, you don't necessarily have to be, a high-grade mathematician, but you know that you are going to score your pupils at the end of the term. You need to have basic knowledge about some of these statistics, how to find average, how to do some of these things. And it's on the basis of that the thing is conducted. So if some of them are not doing well and they are not passing, it means they need to set up, put themselves in readiness before they can qualify, and then you and I will trust our children.
That's fair. But you see, Ms. Obenheman, how many of these 7,600 students, the teachers who sat for these exams, are from the colleges of education? Because you say that not all of them are from College of Education, so most of your students passed. We are talking about just 16.5% of the students who passed. So really, how many of them are from the College of Education that your members teach?
I think the news that have been those who are accused, alleged, and the principle is that people who allege have to prove. But we have 46 public colleges of education. Averagely, if we have 300 students from each of the colleges, we multiply by 46. I will not be able to give you the number of students that were passed last year, but I'm giving you an approximation. I think in another conversation, I'll be in a position to give you accurate number of
you see,
that's
okay. But I asked this question because, you see, beyond you trying to do the mathematics and sort of take yourself out of this, that you, the College of Education, 46 of you, your students may not be part of those who are failed. That may not be true. You see, so beyond this, seeing the rate of failure, over 6,400 failed out of just a little over 7,000 people. This certainly raises fundamental concerns about the quality of the teaching that is going on at the College of Education, isn't it?
I must say that the general education landscape, has to be, re-examined, and the right things have to be done. You and I are aware of when you go into the universities, the kind of students we have over here compared to the students we had 10 years ago, exams they are writing, the standards they are displaying, and what have you, is something that requires that we all become worried, particularly when people who are training to teachers are going to teach. And if you are going to teach and you don't meet the standard, I think you have, you are right to be concerned. So for us, I think the larger number, or largely, our students who are going to teach, largely, majority of them are doing extremely well. And you look at the program that we are pursuing in the colleges of education, the standards that have been set, the competencies that we are supposed to attain before you can go out and teach. I think it's good. So it's up to us, it's up to the students, it's up to the teachers, it's up to the system, it's up to everybody to play his part so that we'll be able to, because the whole nation, everything depends on manpower. And the conversation is right. It's good that we all become worried, we all become concerned. At the end of the day, teachers are going to train people who will fill all the, what have you, throughout the country.
Okay.
So if that is the standard, that is something worrisome. But we cannot blame, the system. We can't blame the students alone. Everybody has a role to play. So that's why we all need to sit up.
All right. Dr. Potential, let me bring you in here. So you talk about everybody having a role to play. In searching for a solution to this, what has to be done and who has to do what exactly?
Yeah, before I answer that, let me help my brother. I think that if the latest work that has been done on the teacher licensure exams was done by 6 researchers, I think 5 researchers from the University of Education, Winneba, and they indicated that the colleges, the candidates that came from the colleges seems to be performing better than those that came from the universities. So if you take 100 candidates, 79 of them that passed were from the colleges of education, whereas 71 of them that passed were from the universities. This is a research work that is in the system. So I tend to maybe agree with him when he says that most of the students that the candidates that are coming from the College of Education seems to be performing well. I think the problem basically is we should have a second look at our distance education program. That is a fact, and we need to say it as it is. We should have a second look at our distance education programs and see whether they are really achieving the aims that they are meant to achieve. Because it looks as if that most of the students that are not able to go through the system is they are coming from those who are undertaking some of these distance education programs. So we need to do a lot of quality assurance from there. Going forward, I'm thinking that the NTC and the various teacher training institutions should come together and find a way to support these teachers. These students who would want to enter the teaching profession. I think that the registrar said that they would be given another mandate to write in November. I think from now to November, there should be a way to support them and look at their needs and find ways and means to assist them to be able to sit and pass the exam successfully. But ideally, I pray and hope that we all support the NTC to carry out their mandate to sanitize the system, to sieve the number of people that are entering the profession, so that we get the quality teachers to handle the teaching of our kids for us.
Very important point. Extremely important. Mr. Obenyiman, and finally, we saw some of the spelling mistakes, very elementary words that these teachers who sat for the exam got it wrong. We'll put it back on the screen, but you pin it down to social media influence, that social media spelling may have led to some of these things. So what should be done, finally?
I have seen in recent times where some corporate organizations put up competitions intending to, target people from the basic level, primary school level, encouraging them to participate in competition, essay competition, writing, and all of that. I think it's good, but at the family level, I have said that if we are going to develop, it depends largely on the extent to which we hold on to family structure, because the breakdown of family structure affects everything, affects the nation, affects everything. I am saying that if every parent, every family can take it upon themselves to ensure that children, members of the family become interested in reading, we buy books for them, we read, we have time for reading, we discuss, we share what we read and what have you. Every family does it. Then it will go a long way to improve upon what we are doing in the society largely. Let's take ourselves as examples. If we, you and I, we can take active interest in our children's reading and they know that we're interested in what they read, we want to hear them, we want them to analyze what they read with us and what have you. At the end of the day, at the end of the month, at the end of the year, they would have read one or two books. We go out there and find out for a year, the students that we teach, sometimes a whole 4-year period, apart from course, the whole 4-year period, apart from course material, you ask a student what he or she has read, a book, name a material that he has, personally, out of his own volition, read. He will not be able to tell you. And that is worrisome. So we should encourage people to read. I think that is what we have to do to solve the problem. And reading will come within the solution of numeracy, because reading, you read, you analyze. So literacy, numeracy, and all those things will be tackled when we take active interest in.
Okay. Obenyiman, thank you for time. Prince Obenyiman is the president of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CETAG. To you, Dr. Peter Panteanchi, thank you. As always, thank you for joining us. Appreciate your time here on Ghana Tonight. Also, Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, IFEST. Coming up next, some civil society organizations have expressed opposition to a possible 6-year lease of the Tema Oil Refinery to Torrentco Asset Management. Stay with me. We have some details that will certainly be of interest to you and I here on Ghana Tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
At long last, Blue Jays Vodka makes a bummer kit. Blue Jays Vodka makes Numbi a fine.
Yes, look, the guys are chilling with Blue Jays Vodka mix.
Wow! Numbi a tasty.
Can we join you guys? We are all single. Yeah. I'm fine.
Blue Jays Vodka mix and we are dead. Taste to me a kama. Enjoy the unique taste of Blue Jays Vodka mix. Blue Jays Vodka mix Numbi a fine.
Blue Jays Vodka mix. Blue Jays Vodka mix.
Numuni Nyansem, one ton money pa one in fear don't watch it. And says happen for
everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful M-Punch one?
Chesena me ankasa me period na say problems wom ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na me coin point no mo hwe me mogam no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro a me fire no ene ma won kra me enu kofro kwa na mkwan mu a eba
head everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko end point o mama nu a ene ne ho eden a watimi asori anante.
That's end point for you of Acrobato. Hello hey ohwehwe what che okay a free bra wo di end point what dance am me call you no me Jones sema na enkoyie e person na my emre nyina na magina sebema na me be fie for there e ho na nyina jaresa. You heard everything. I have secret. M-Punch is my secret. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. I'm free.
Ura musana eshi anoshi metwe anopa awia imle even kra ma chekra na tim so letwe.
The glue that sticks things together is now tearing lives apart.
No more shame na agu. Itine kutaro. Ti omwa mo se kwa hili say.
A big trouble in a small tube.
We are metwe na mo be 12 years. Until I know I'm 19 years.
It's a story of how young men are wasting their lives away, addicted to sniffing glue.
The government is not paying attention anywhere because I don't see anywhere in Ghana that the youth are finding jobs to do. So it's a general bad governance issue.
For them, it is a cheaper alternative to hard drugs.
Pampers cry binum editing sumo and no more soon. My party in your
Experts are worried about its life-threatening consequences.
I decided to track them down to this particular place.
Godwin Asediba in High on Glue visits some communities and reveals the canker robbing the lives of many Ghanaian youth. High on Glue airs on Wednesday, June 21 on TV3 at 9 p.m. and across our social media platforms. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Now, civil society groups in the oil and gas sector are demanding transparency from government over the lease of the Tamale refinery in an agreement which gives the state some 22 million cedis as frontal payment and annual $1 million. This is actually a proposal as reported, which has been making the rounds. And in fact, according to Imani Vice President Bright Simmons, who first published this on his Twitter handle, the refinery has, or is actually, the talks ongoing to lease it to One Torrentco Assets Limited for a period of 6 years, with the new owners expected to pay $1 million every year as annual rent. Under the agreement, we understand over 8 million barrels of oil is expected to be refined, with extra rent allowance of over $1 million to be paid monthly as well. This is where the fundamental questions about transparency being raised as we speak, because We have been looking and digging through to find a bit more about this Torrensco Limited, whose name has come up. We understand they have a total share value as a company, as stated, about 500,000 cedis, right? That raises concern about the capacity of this said company to manage a multi-million-dollar asset. We're talking about the Tamale refinery. But this, we understand, are proposals as part of a number of them on the table of the energy minister. Let's go on to Zoom now. Ben Boakye is the executive director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, one of your civil society organizations raising concern about this latest development with Tamale refinery. Mr. Boakye, thank you so much for joining us on Ghana Tonight. What more do we know about this deal, which you are picking some information on?
I mean, we know at this point any critical information that is required for public advocacy and public resentment of this very transaction. I mean, we are handing over the asset of Tor to a company with no track record. And I've heard people say that it's only a vehicle, but it's a vehicle that we don't really know the status of the driver. We don't know the status of the managers of the vehicle. All right. And they have not shown any credibility and capacity to be able to manage the asset. So it's more or less like somebody just called the company and said, you are the one we want to come and manage the assets of Tor. And this leaves civil society wondering, when can our prayer be answered, where you only see one transaction in the energy sector above board, you know, with all the transparency and accountability mechanics checked. It's been a long journey, aspiring to see transactions in the energy sector above board. And we can't continue to watch these things happen. And that is why, I mean, we are calling for that transaction to be aborted and a new process set in motion that is transparent and elicit from every investor that wants to invest in Tor, you know, to come up with a proposal. And that is the only way we can guarantee value for the infrastructure that we do have. And it's almost as if somebody says Tor is not making money, so it's better off to give it to somebody they like, rather than somebody who can actually deliver value for the state. And that is the bottom line. We are not seeing value in the transaction. I mean, the company was just set up this year. We have not seen bankrollers or other investors who have the capacity to actually support the investment requirement that they even put up. The minimum investment that they are talking about, we don't see any trace of capacity to actually deliver that. And I'm happy to even note that there is already a due diligence report by Tor itself, which really was clear that that company doesn't have capacity to deliver on the mandate of Tor. So why on earth is somebody pushing to actually get the same company, you know, awarded, you know, the maintenance, the operations and maintenance?
Mr. Boakye, from your checks, you say that this said Torrensco Limited was set up this year and is already been considered, and we understand in the front line, to have this contract with the Tamale refinery for the management of the refinery. But since you started raising these fundamental concerns about transparency and accountability and some further and better particulars of this deal, has the Energy Ministry responded to the queries you put out so far?
I think typical of the ministry, you wouldn't hear from them on these matters. Usually you will see action quietly being taken, and I hope this is one of them, where the ministry will act swiftly to ensure that this doesn't go through. And I hope that the ministry itself is not involved in such a shady transaction. So we are still looking into it and trying to see if we can get responses from government or the ministry. We haven't been lucky yet. I mean, the information is out there. People know that, you know, this is a transaction that is picking up in the news, but government has not cared to actually say anything about it. So we'll keep pushing to see when that response would come. But ultimately, this is a transaction that civil society is ready to resist at all levels to ensure that it doesn't happen.
I see. But you see, while we are at it and still asking these very important questions, you and I, and indeed our viewers, are still paying for the toll recovery debt levy. Every time we go to the pumps to buy fuel, we're still paying for the toll recovery debt levy that the refinery has not been recovered. The debt is still going up very strangely. Let's put that on the screen right now, and let's understand the basis for this. And the last time we checked so far, you published the details of this Section 13 of the Debt Recovery, that's Fund Act 2003, stating that the minister shall, within 3 months after the end of each financial year, submit a report on the fund to Parliament, right? And the last time we spoke, just about the early part of this year, this is what you, the ASEP, put out, that between 2009 and 2015, the toll recovery debt levy accrued some 1.9 billion, in excess of 1.9 billion cedis. Then, between 2003, since we started paying toll recovery debt levy from 2003 to the first quarter, the last quarter of 2022, it's accrued 8.9 billion, in excess of 8.9 billion cedis. This is the information you put up. So we have been paying this toll levy for this while. If the figures you've just given me is anything to go by, 8.9 billion in excess. Will this debt ever end that we are carrying, Mr. Wachi?
In our last count, we had paid over 8 billion cedis. The dollar equivalent of that was more than $4 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we keep paying for toll debt, toll management, and the rest of it. And the money doesn't even go to fix the problems of toll. So it's a conversation that we've had with government to actually see how we either make toll truly independent and hold leadership accountable to be able to deliver value to the people, or we actually invite the private sector. But this is not the kind of invitation that we've been aspiring to see in this space. We want a much more transparent and robust and reassuring transaction that we can actually hold the investors together, but not shady companies that you cannot really track their capacity to be able to deliver on the mandate of toll. So that is the major concern of civil society. And it does appear that as for the debt that already exists, what the ESLA levy can actually do now is to pay the coupons. With the debt restructuring, we're hoping that over time we'll be able to clear that debt. So if we're able to get a strong and robust and experienced company operating toll, that could stop the recurrent debt accumulation then focus more on retiring the existing debt.
But help me,
generative value.
Okay, but help our viewers and myself to understand it. Why is the toll recovery debt levy still increasing when we are paying for the debt and the refinery is not refining or recovering? And we'll put that breakdown I put on the screen. Mr. Boache.
Because it is the citizens that pay. Politicians don't pay. They get coupons, fuel coupons. We pay the levy through fuel. So when you buy your fuel at the pump, you pay the levy.
Precisely.
Politicians don't pay. They only get to take decisions around how the levy is used. And that's it. And nobody has really cared to actually retire the debt as quickly as we should have, and then allow the business to operate as business and not hang on the neck of the public forever. And we've already done 20 years of payments to service the debt of toll, and we are still paying. So let them give us that simple respect of ensuring that the public does not continue in perpetuity to pay for the debt and operations of toll. But we can actually make it do business. All right, we can make that company do business and for nothing at all break even. All right. So we need serious investors And surprisingly, what we have seen in the past 1 year is a number of proposals from different people who have shown interest in investing in Tor. How does government get to select, one company without going through tender? And these are signs of corruption, all right, where, every transparent mechanism is sidestepped to hand national assets to a company of the choosing of the political system, right? And that is not good enough for the protection of the public interest. And that is a typical transaction that we are seeing with this particular Tor arrangement. And we want to see government halt, this transaction as soon as possible and open up a more transparent process that insulate the public from further financial, challenges in future.
In fact, you talk about the number of proposals. I checked the books, the likes of Vital, Decimal Capital, and now this Torrentco. Just a few companies that have put proposals up to the Energy Ministry to revive the fortunes of Tor. But you smell some corruption in this Torrentco proposal and all of this that is shrouded in secrecy, you say?
I mean, the selection process is typical of all the corruption that you see around Ghana, where every major transaction is sole sourced, all right? And why would you sole source the leasing of Tor? There is nobody dying at all. There is no emergency at all. I mean, sadly even, this Torrentco is not a known quantity in refining or in the oil industry. It is just a new company set up. Even the owners are not into oil business. So what peculiar experience did they bring to even warrant or qualify them under the sole sourcing rules? So it's essentially, the typical arrangements where public assets are handed to friends and people who are aligned to the political system, because people have power to do so. And that is what we are seeing with this transaction. It cannot be in the interest of the public where many other people are interested and somebody is handpicked without any peculiar experience or capacity to actually deliver value for the people.
Mr. Bache, appreciate your time, as always. Thank you very much for joining us on Ghana Tonight. Ben Bache, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP. We have very, very keen interest in how things are playing out in this Tor situation. Stay with us in the coming days. We'll definitely give you updates as and when it comes through. But coming up next, there is a government waste report which details the developments relating to expenditure that is associated with certain offices of government. Captured in there is the Office of Special Prosecutor, and then the issues of ghost names as well, which is costing all of us millions of cedis on a yearly basis. We'll be joined shortly by Professor Enoch Opoku-Nche, Project Advisor of the Government Waste Report. But let's lay the foundation for this. My colleague, Lord Edward Sari, has been looking through this report, and here's a brief detail. We'll give you the details as it plays out right now, and also the specific issues about how much money that has been given to the Office of Special Prosecutor, plus how much we're losing to ghost names every year, as always put out by both the Auditor General's report and then also the Comptroller and Accountant General's Department. In fact, these are the concerns that they put out there in this report. Take a look.
In the area of government's wasteful expenditure, the report said several key areas contribute to the government's wasteful spending. According to the report, the major factor is the lack of transparent and accountable procurement processes. It noted that the findings denote inefficient bidding systems, inadequate oversight mechanisms, and instances of corruption led to inflated contract prices and wastage of public funds. Another contributing factor is the presence of redundant or obsolete government programs and agencies. These entities often duplicate functions, resulting in inefficient resource allocation and unnecessary administrative costs. Rationalizing and streamlining such programs and agencies can help eliminate waste and redirect resources to more productive areas. Insufficient evaluation of project feasibility, unrealistic cost estimates, and poor monitoring of expenditure often amount to cost overruns and misallocation of resources, portions of the report read.
Well, let's go on to Zoom now. Professor Enoch Opoku-Nche is Project Advisor, Government Waste Report. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. You talk about the Office of Special Prosecutor in this report, and that even though it is important, it cannot do much in the fight against corruption. Why is that?
I think that is what everything points out to. From the first time that we had Martin Amidu and now we have a Jabin, that is what we are seeing, that the Special Prosecutor's Office has not been able to fix the corruption that we expected or it ought to have fixed. And then if you look at the Institute for Liberty and Policy Innovation, ILABI's report, it also says that we have a lot of institutions that is already supposed to be fighting corruption. And here we mentioned the Yoko, Shraj, Attorney General's Office, National Security Office, the CID, and then the Auditor General's Office. All these institutions are supposed to be fighting the same corruption. So it's just like the law of marginal returns. We are using just a fixed input and adding many variable inputs. So definitely our marginal utility is going to increase, reach a max, and it will begin to fall. And that is what we're going to experience. All the money spent at the Special Prosecutor's Office, almost 446 million Ghana cedis, we've not seen the expected results.
I see. So what are the specific recommendations in this report as you highlight how much money has been given to the OSP, which is said in a number of fora that it's not enough, but you say that, look, he cannot do much in the fight against corruption?
The specific recommendations is that we all have to be part of fighting the corruption. You know, we should see, when you see something going on in your communities, talk about it. Because it took a whole, 8 years report. And this 8 years, that is, we look at 2014 to 2021, 8 years. And this, we sampled 2,000 participants across the country for 4 months, from August to November 2022, looking at 12 different variables. So we look at the segregated housing unit, we look at the ex-gratia government, communicators, we look at the ghost names, and we'll talk about ghost names. We look at the NAPCO, over 2.2 billion Ghana cedis have been spent on NAPCO, Youth Unemployment Scheme, 10 million, and then NEP, 10 million. Government travels, and then government appointees and big government. All these, the money drained to individual pockets. So individuals are getting richer, and the country is broke.
You mentioned ghost names, and I see that in the report as well, how much we're losing to ghost names. The question is, when you were working on this waste report, were you able to identify why ghosts find themselves in the public payroll every year when we expunge thousands of them every year from the ghost names, from the payroll?
Well, ghost names are not supposed to be on this living world. They are supposed to be in the celestial world. So when the ghosts have their names on the payroll of a country, then usually we have a problem. But we are spending about 100 million Ghana cedis that goes waste every year for ghost names. So for the past almost 7 years that MPP has been in government, we spent almost 700 million Ghana cedis on ghost names. So if you talk about the factors that is causing this, it's human. It is the same people who are using other dead people's names and collecting salaries on their behalf. The Auditor General's Department, the Attorney General Department have asked people to come and verify. In fact, as I speak with you, I've seen some teachers who have also been teaching. They just change their account numbers and they have not been receiving their salaries because the controller department think that they are ghosts. And they are trying to rectify the situation. It's taking some of them 2-3 years They've still not been able to rectify that situation. So that is a genuine case. But when we're talking about people who do not exist, they are either dead or they have traveled outside the country, they are living abroad, and you have heads of institutions collecting these people's salaries and then taking them. This is really corruption. And how they come back, nobody knows. So when we're talking about Ghana card and how we can use the e-system to fix some of these things, I think these are the areas we should be looking at, because look at the cost involved. It's too much. If we're spending 100 million Ghana cedis on ghosts and the living are struggling to make just one meal a day, then we have a problem. And every well-meaning Ghanaian should look at this. We should find every means to make sure that we expunge all ghost names away from our payroll system.
Great recommendation. Then, in fact, the full report you can find on 3news.com. We're looking at various aspects of it as well, and we just focused on the ghost names and the Office of Special Prosecutor, but there's a lot more detail in there, which will spread along in the coming days. Professor Inokopoko Entry, thank you so much for time and the recommendations you make to improve on the state of affairs. Project Advisor, Government Waste Project. Appreciate your time. But before we go, James Echekwesi was in court earlier today. And you recall that sometime last week, the court issued that directive that he appears before the court on a daily basis, beginning today. He applied for that to be set aside. Let's see that on the screen right now. These are some of the reliefs that he sought earlier today, which there's going to be a decision taken on tomorrow. That the Attorney General seeks to prejudice the outcome of the trial. 2, day-to-day trial would hamper Echekwesi's campaign because of the by-election, which is in some 7 days away from today. Supreme Court judgment full of fundamental errors. He also talks about the review, a varying order for the day-to-day trial. And then also he's asking that justice must be seen to be done. And those are the 5 claims that James Echekwesi is making. And his lead counsel, Lawyer Chachuchikata, was in court earlier today, but there was a response from the Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Ocansey, on this matter in court today. Take a look.
It's not about he not being allowed to contest the elections. He has a right to contest. The state also has a right to hear cases pending in court. So it's going to be a position, even though it's not been served, that the court properly exercises discretion in granting adjournment on daily basis. And that's what we're going to maintain.
Well, Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Abraham Maleba, also expressed concern about the Attorney General's statement, which Chachuchikata also made reference to in court today.
To call somebody irresponsible when he's embarking on a democratic process, and that because he's embarking on that democratic process, he's irresponsible, shouldn't be coming from Attorney General and the Minister of Justice. If you're a Minister of Justice, you must ensure that justice is done to all manner of persons. And so that was an irresponsible comment from the Attorney General. He doesn't act like an Attorney General, and I agree with Senior Chachuchikata that his comments were irresponsible.
Our court correspondent, Lord Edwasari, will be in court tomorrow because the court will decide whether to set aside this day-to-day hearings that they are asking James Echekwesi to be coming to court when there's campaign going on in the Asin North constituency ahead of the by-election. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight in subsequent bulletins as well on TV3 and across all media journal platforms. Thank you so much for staying with us. On behalf of the rest of the team, as always, we appreciate your company. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.